Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to the United Stand. Joined tonight, we'll talk about Solskjaer. Lots to talk about. He's just done an interview. I mean, we're all choked up here. Some of us choked up on, tears. Some of us choked up on Man United's spin, I suppose. I don't know. Bit controversial. We'll talk about that. Also, we'll talk about what's next for Manchester United. We'll talk a bit about Ollie's legacy. We'll talk about what's to come for United as well, not in relation to the manager, but where do we go from here? The board, what the options are. Loads to talk about. We will be joined by Ricky at some point, but I've got Beth, Kev, and Adam. How you doing all?
Good, mate. Okay.
Mixed emotions.
Emotional weekend. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, it's gonna. We've got a long bumper show tonight because we will have Ricky joining us very soon, and there's lots and lots to discuss. Look, the first thing I'm going to hit it on the head straight away here. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's done an interview. I'm sure most of you've seen it. Kevin just watched it just before we were starting there, where everything he says is nice, and he ends up basically crying at the end of it. I just want to say, first of all, everyone's got a right to an opinion. Like, I've had people telling me what's wrong with the fan base because I'm a little bit like, well, it is very sad, but ultimately I've never known a club do this. I just find it very, it just doesn't sit right with me. Man crying on TV about being sacked, whether he wants to do it or not. I'm you know what? He's a legend for me anyway. I said it this morning. He's a legend. He gave me the best night of my life in football. Like, he's a legend anyway. He doesn't need to come out and do that. If he wants to do it, that's fine. But you know what? We're now 8th in the league. Spurs have just won. They're 2 points ahead of us. And I just think it's getting a little bit lost. I think the message is getting a bit lost. We've sacked him because he's no good. And tonight, everyone's getting pulled back into sentimentality, which is where we need to move away from. But you really enjoyed it, Beth. Well, you didn't enjoy it, but you were really hit hard by it.
Yeah, basically, everyone's got different opinions. Of people obviously think it's out of order, think it shouldn't happen. I watched it and I thought it was not the perfect way, but it was a good way to kind of leave that final message with the fans. As Ollie said in that interview, well, I'm just going to choose to believe what he said, and that is that he wanted to do the interview. He doesn't want to speak to journalists. He wants a message to the fans. And I can understand why he didn't want that Watford game to be his last message with the fans, because it was an awful game for him to be in charge of. And then the end when he went over to the fans, and it wasn't great. And I understand why he wanted to do that interview. And I'm not going to lie, I've said many times since that Liverpool game that I don't think he's the right man to take us forward, and I think we need to make a change. And he knows that himself. You could tell in that interview that he knows that himself. But it doesn't matter kind of about that when you're looking at him as a person. He's a great person, and I think he's conducted himself extremely well since that Watford game to come out and give that interview and give his opinion and say goodbye to the fans, whether it was what the club wanted to do or not. The way he conducted himself was brilliantly. And yeah, I felt sorry for him. And at the end of that interview, I was quite emotional, to be honest, because I've always loved Ollie and I've loved what he's done for the club. And I think he's a great person. And what he did in that Champions League night will never be forgotten. It is time to move on now. It's time to get a different manager in. But that doesn't mean you have to disrespect him as a person, which a lot of people have done. And none of us here have disrespected him personally. We don't think he's good enough for the role. But that doesn't mean you have to give personal abuse. He's received a lot of that. So when he comes out in that interview and he gets emotional, of course, anyone with empathy is going to look at that and feel for the guy. Everyone's saying he's got a £7 million payout. Why do you feel for him? He's only lost his job. He loves Manchester United, and you can tell that through his interview, and you can tell it by the way he speaks. And he left it on such a good note. There was no bitterness at all. Says he's going to still watch at Old Trafford. He's going to support the next manager. And I truly believe in that interview that he knows this squad has got a lot more potential than what he's getting out of it at the moment. And I think he knows that they can go on and do better. So I thought the way he left it with that message to the fans was a great way to kind of say goodbye, rather than just ending it with the fans kind of boom at the end of Watford. It went on way longer than it should have. And I just thought it was a nice way to say goodbye personally. I didn't see any malice in that interview whatsoever.
No, I don't think there was any malice in it. I mean, I'll throw this to Ricky. How you doing?
Very well, mate. Thank you.
Good.
Everyone all right? Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get on to Ricky in a minute. But I'll go to you on Kev on this one, because you've just literally seen it. I mean, I agree with everything Beth says, and a lot of people will agree with Beth on that. But as anything, there's always different opinions. My opinion is that is very convenient for the football club to deflect a situation where this morning everyone's going, why is Michael Carrick still here? Why is he running the team? Why has Ollie been thrown under the bus on his own? I mean, I'm still lost on the whole Ollie's gone because the coaching's crap, and yet Ollie said 4 times, I don't coach the team, and the people who coach the team are now running the team. I'm still lost on that incompetence. I'm still lost on
as well.
I'm still lost on the whole, we're going to have an interim and then a full-time manager and we're writing 7 months off. I think Ollie has, again, helped the club out, Kev. I think he's come out, done a very emotional interview, and that only benefits the club because now everyone's emotional tonight. They're back into sentimental FC and they're going, oh, and the club are like, yes, everyone's forgot about us. We're fine again. Let's continue. And look, and honestly, I love Ollie as a player. I've always said that. But look at how he's treated Donny. He's had over £400 million and he's took 4 points from 21. I'm not too interested in sentimentality for Ollie. I'm interested in who the manager is and how we get this season back on top. Because for me, Ollie will always be a legend anyway.
I think the main thing, I think if it was any other club, and we all know how Manchester United is run at the minute, you've got this Phil Lynch who's in charge of Manchester United's social media thing, pulling out graphs and stuff on players' moods and basically catering to what we want to hear. But what we want to hear is an honest, genuine opinion from players, which is totally lost now because they're almost robots. We laugh about this and we say after each game, it tends to be copy and paste at the minute. It's just literally whatever they've thrown out on Instagram or Twitter. We go again, Harry Maguire, a classic example of it. We go again, we do this, we will try harder, They're kind of robots and there's no truth behind it, no real meaning. And as supporters, we're lost on that. Now, on the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer interview, yeah, lovely touch. Again, if this is any other club in world football, I would believe it to be genuine. But I do think it's a PR spin because Manchester United wanted him to do this. And of course, this is the reason the man got the job in the first place, because it tugs at the heartstrings. And it's been an emotional weekend because when Mourinho was sacked, I was delighted. I was cheering. I was glad. Last night I said, please put us out of our misery. But it's that stage of a relationship, isn't it? When the breakup, you through all that. Yes, you'll always love that person or whatever, but it's just best that you part and you both go your separate ways. And that's what's happened. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a United fan. He's one of us. He's lived his dream. Again, it goes down to the regime of the Glazers, and they appointed him.
Who also, Kev, just while you're talking,
manager.
Ollie's come out and given this chat, hasn't he? Which is fine. They sacked him on social media last night. He wasn't sacked officially till 10:30 this morning. They sacked him on social media last night.
What way is that to do it? It's an absolute joke of a club, the way that Manchester United is run. And I go back to the PR spin. They put Solskjaer in that situation today. What do you want him to do? Of course he's going to be emotional or whatever. But you know for a fact that whoever's put that together, clipped it up or whatever, that is just prime. I'm not going to go down the route of clickbait, but it certainly paints the club in a better picture. And like you said, and you knocked the nail on the head, what you have to weigh up is Michael Carrick's in charge of Manchester United. What are the rest of them coaching staff doing there? If Solskjaer's been sacked and you still, Michael Carrick, I said to me mate earlier, he rang me, I said, what if Michael Carrick wins the next 10 games in a row? Will they give it him? I would not be surprised if Manchester United fed off that again and go down the route of this bullshit that Michael Carrick's got the Manchester United DNA in him. He knows Manchester United. He's played for the club. For me, we've done that now, and it did not work. We've had a past legend who's managed the club. It's not worked. We have to look at an alternative and a different route. And again, on the fan forum last night, I said, Manchester City and Liverpool, clubs that are run properly, they will already know now who they want to replace Guardiola and Klopp respectively in 2 to 3 years' time. And Manchester United do not have a Scooby-Doo. They have not planned for this. They thought that the Tottenham win at Tottenham bided him a bit of time. Yeah, we should win against Watford, and we go again, that old crap. And they've just been taken aback by this. They have had to act on fan power and basically on results, and they're just not prepared for it. You know yourself by looking at the news today and the names that are being thrown out, and the fact that Michael Carrick's in temporary charge at the minute. That tells you everything about Manchester United at the minute.
Do you not think you can separate that though? Like, obviously, what Manchester United's done and the way that they've handled this situation, I think is completely out of order. And I think they hung Ollie out to dry for way longer than they should have. And Carrick being in charge again is something I majorly disagree with. But do you not think it's so much better for Ollie to kind of speak to the fans in that way and say goodbye like that for him than, because obviously a lot of people...
in theory, Beth, nothing has actually changed. We've sacked Solskjaer, and like Mark says...
Oh, no, nothing has changed.
Yeah, we've still got the same coaching setup and that. So, in a way, it's almost like, what have we sacked him for?
Oh, no.
I think that's a great point, Beth. I was going to throw... I was going to throw that back to you, Beth. I was going to say this back to you because I think it's a great point. And everyone feel free to jump in tonight because I think it's that sort of show. Yeah. But I agree with Kev there. I think that, you know, there's a lot of people on social media arguing, which is fine. That's what it's all about. But I don't think anybody's saying, why is Ollie crying? What a dickhead. No one's saying that. Everyone's saying, bloody hell. No, everyone's emotional about it. But I feel I can't help but suspect there's something ulterior from the club behind this, because it feels to me like this morning when I woke up and they said Carrick, McKenna and Phelan are staying, but Ollie's going. I thought, oh, hold on a minute. I see what's going on here. This is scapegoat city. This is everything on Ollie. Ollie, you take one for the team. Keep everyone here till the end of the season. If you do well, you'll probably get 3 years. And I'm like, you know, Ollie's doing an interview crying. And I'm like, well, nothing's really changed. You were just 25% of 100%. Carrick and McKenna was coaching the team. Phelan was helping you pick the team. You're doing an interview crying because you lost your job. And, you know, that's very emotional. But what's actually changed? Everyone's acting, oh, it's all over now. Ollie's on. It's really sad. This and that. I think it's one small step for mankind, but it's not one small step for Man United. It's like there's so many more things that need to happen for me. I don't think this is anywhere near over.
Well, yeah, sorry. I was just going to say that the fan that was pictured at Carrington, lovely moment. You know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer gets out of his Range Rover. He's just got his £7 million payoff or whatever, and he's hugging a fan. And there's your moment. It's almost like, I wouldn't say stage, but that picture then goes out and does the rounds. And that looks great on Manchester United because he's leaving on good terms. And United don't want to be seen as a sacking club. It looks bad on Manchester United. But yet you've got this picture now of this fan hugging Solskjaer. That's the one that's going viral. That's out there. And yeah, it's almost like, let's just forget about what's actually going on at the club. And that's all we're bothered about as football fans, Manchester United fans, is the management, what happens on the pitch, and the rest of it that's going off the pitch. It's just shambolic.
He's a sacrificial lamb to me, Adam. I don't know what you think. He's a sacrificial lamb who's been hung out to dry, and our fans need to wake up to this because they're just getting lost in sentiment about, oh no, let's all, let's all remember Ollie. Like, I joked he's having a lap of honour against Arsenal. I mean, the club might think that's a good idea, but the reality is, it's not over. Like, there's 75% of the management team still bloody there for me. Ollie's just been hung up as like everything was on Ollie. I even saw people leaking, journalists today, about tactics and this match this and this match that, this match. I'm like, hold on. Ollie has said he doesn't do the coaching, and yet he's being hung out to dry about coaching.
This is it, mate. In terms of this whole interview and everything that's happened and just dropped today, I made my peace with Ollie yesterday at Vicarage Road. I gave him credit for having the balls where the rest of everyone, his team, his coaching staff, all cowered away down in a tunnel. He came over at least and clapped the fans and took what he knew was coming to him. And it was pure abuse. I was there. I've seen the people who were doing it. It was a disgrace. But it's the fact that he's actually in charge. He's causing this rift between the fans. I said this off air before. The reason the fans are arguing with each other and fighting, I've seen United fans being arrested for fighting each other yesterday. Is because Ollie's in charge.
Adam, you're there. The away crowd. Look, I love our fans. I said to people yesterday, they will sing Ollie's at the wheel. They will stand by David Moyes. Like, it's what they do. It's not about Ollie. It's about what that match day experience is, especially the away fans. But
the away fans,
even the away fans yesterday, people are shouting about Ollie. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, the away fans booed him off at half time. It was a disgrace of a first half performance. Let's not kid ourselves. But they were booed. He was booed off. The whole team was booed off at half time. The players basically had to completely down tools for Ollie to lose his job. The club are going to keep Ollie in charge. We know this.
Yeah,
it's took an absolute disaster for this football club to act, and this is what this is right now. It is. I've never seen perfect performances like it by the players. And I went in on the players yesterday. I really went in on the players yesterday. That's how I felt, and the emotion of the day obviously took over me. Like I said, with Ole, the interview, I couldn't give two shits about. I'm going to be honest here now. I couldn't care less. I thought they should have just done a statement. They basically said everyone who was with you and left you in the shit.
Oh no, that's a good time.
Now make a complete ass out yourself, in my opinion. That's what it is. He may have thought he was doing good, but
gone again.
Really up and made him look like a complete clown. And I was from the club and just made
Adam, I'll let you
Carrick's the one hiding away, not coming out at all. Seeing it. McKenna's there, Phelan's there, taking shift work on the sideline yesterday. It was embarrassing. I mean, Matt Ranieri stood on the sideline the whole game. United were doing shifts. So this is a team. This isn't just all coaching staff need to take responsibility for what happened yesterday. And they left Ole out on his own on the pitch, taking every single bit of flack. I've done exactly the same thing to him with this interview today to me. It's like, this is on you. It's not all on him. He's got a team there now that are going to carry on with this. And this is why I said, if this goes on for a prolonged period of time with this coaching setup still in place, nothing is going to change. Nothing at all is going to change. They need to act now. They need to get someone in place very quickly. But the way they've gone around this for me, and it must have been United who leaked this out last night that a meeting was going on. Why would you leak that out? You're just throwing everyone under the bus.
Romano sacked him at 11 o'clock last night. That was it. The club didn't do it for another 12 hours.
Don't get me wrong, he's not the man for the job. But just, it doesn't sit well with me at all and everything that's gone on, the way it happened. I mean, like we should know. I mean, they sacked Van Gaal the day he won the bleeding cup final. So we should know what this club is all about. And they're not scared about throwing anyone under the bus. For me, yeah, not the right man for the job. But yesterday, I thought his team were a disgrace yesterday. Absolute disgrace to the shirt yesterday, to a man, apart from Donny van der Beek. Crazy, isn't it? 2 years of what we've called mismanagement and ill treatment of Donny van der Beek. He was the only player yesterday who stood up for Ole and
could have saved his job.
Really, yeah, literally. The only man on that pitch that walked off with any credit for me yesterday. I mean, yeah, at the other players that did go over and clap the fans, well done to them for actually doing it. But, I mean, the players that did it was Dalot, Wan-Bissaka, Sancho, Donny and Bruno. Where's all, you know what I mean? Where's Matic? Straight down the tunnel at the end. Gone. Finished. Do you know what I mean? You could tell he'd lost the players, but, I mean, come on. There's a reason why United fans travel and support the team like we do, you know, or we get something back. We've been let down by these players this week, big time. And, yeah, I went in on Ollie after the press conference and I said the proof is in the pudding. We'll see what's happened on the training ground if the game changes on the pitch, mate. But it didn't. It's just a complete mess. And yesterday, like I said yesterday, I completely fell out of love with my football club yesterday after what I watched. That's how far it took me down. That was the vibe outside the club with every single fan walking out of there. The dejection, I'd never seen anything like it. It was just the bottom. It was the pits.
Ricky, you've been very patient. Yeah. You've been off for a couple of weeks as well.
Yeah.
Just tell us, how are you feeling and what do you think of the situation?
I've heard you talking about the interview. I've just seen a short clip of it. I've not seen it all. I've just seen a short clip of it on Sky. And I've got to be dead honest. I love Ollie. I will never, ever... I'll never forget what he did for us as a player. As a manager, I think he's been appalling. I really do. I love him. I will never, ever stop loving him. But his interviews for quite a while have been a bit cringeworthy, I think. I didn't see the full interview tonight. I did see a clip where he said something in the realms of, I made a lot of friends and that's what it's all about. I made a lot of friends and that's what it's all about.
You've seen that clip of Gary Neville.
To be fair, that was a bad clip that they chose to put around social
Camp
media.
Nou.
There were so many other clips he should have used. That clip was the wrong one to go.
You know what? On that. Wait, sorry, Ricky. I'll carry on now. But what Ricky said there, then the club know exactly what's going to go out on social media as well. And again, it's like Ricky says there, they're making people fall out of love with what he says. They threw him under the bus, mate. Carry on, Ricky. Everyone knows what I feel
about what you've already touched on as well, about Carrick being in charge. I just honestly can't get my head around it. Has he not been has he not been discussing? I know you speak about the coaching. I think really you four probably are at loggerheads with me. I just think the players are not good enough, whereas you think it's all down to the coaching. You know that I think 2 or 3 of the players everybody raves about, I think they're a waste of space. And
Sellers then, who's that?
And, you know,
Bruno, Rashford.
No, Rashford. Greenwood's not a waste of space, but he's an average player. I know he didn't play yesterday. We've just got too many players that everybody raves about who are just ordinary. And don't forget, I mean, ask yourselves this question. All of you, you all talk. You've been saying for 18 months how the performances are not good enough. And then in the next breath, you're talking about how great the players are. The performances have been shit for 18 months. Shocking.
Do you not think, though, Ricky, just on that, because you mentioned Michael Carrick. I mean, Michael Carrick, Rui Faria was Mourinho's assistant coach. We finished second. In the summer, Rui Faria fucked off, and and Mourinho woke up one morning, and Ed Woodward says, "Ta-da, I've got you Carrick and McKenna." He's sacked by Christmas. Ollie, you've got Carrick and McKenna. 3 years later, he's sacked. Who's the next manager? You've got Carrick and McKenna. And it's like, I do think that the
coaching has to be better. But the very first thing that a manager has got to get right, he's got to identify the better players, and I don't believe he's done that.
Ricky doesn't like Bruno because he kept Ollie in a job and he didn't want Ollie having the manager's job. That's what it is.
Certain players
for 45 minutes and think to yourself, he could get in Liverpool's team or City's team.
Yeah.
And he plays like they play. Get it and give it, find space, give it again. He could get in Liverpool's team or City's team, and he gets about 2 minutes a week for us.
Yeah,
that's a lot. That's more. You don't get that.
Don't even get that.
No, Ricky, you have to mark there, mate.
I think one thing that Ollie, I mean, I agree with the fact completely. I cannot understand if Ollie, Carrick, McKenna, all these, it's a managerial team, they're in it together, all this stuff that we've heard. How come Ollie's the only one that's going and he's taking the heat for everything and they get to stay comfortable in their jobs? When, don't get me wrong, I feel like Carrick and McKenna have been here, how long that, like nearly 5 years, maybe more than that. And we've been continually bad under their time in the coaching staff. And Ollie speaking in his interview that they work so hard. You can work as hard as you want, but if you're not an elite coach, you're not an elite coach. And same
applies to players, Beth. Same applies to players.
I agree with that.
You've got to be good.
Exactly.
Hey, Ricky.
He should not. Nothing, like you said, nothing will change with his coaching staff still in charge because they're a team. They've been working together for 3 years and they've not been able to get us to the elite level. Carrick and McKenna aren't suddenly going to, and Fletcher suddenly aren't going to transform the team. They need, and the reason why they've gone with them, which is sad as it is, they don't have any other option because they've got absolutely no one lined up. And I don't know if they can get anyone to come or they don't want to pay the money. It's one of the two.
And that is a very good squad at Manchester United. You would ask yourself and say, Guardiola, Klopp, Tuchel, if they were in charge of this current sort of squad of players at Manchester United, title contenders, no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
I was going to ask you, Ricky, this is the one thing I wanted to ask you because Ollie did say it in his interview as well. There's no doubt he's left the club in a better position. Do you look back, and I'm going to ask everybody this anyway, but do you look back at Ollie's 3 years at the club and think we're in a better position than when he left us?
No.
And why not?
Well, look at the midfield. Herrera's playing in Champions League finals and, dominating football in Paris with his teammates. Lukaku's won Serie A. He's playing for the team at the top of the league, the European champions. We've got 34. Are they 33 or 34 and 36? Our two strikers now, and he got rid of Lukaku. They got 100 million quid for him, the team we sold him to. It's just sideways steps. We are not in a better position. I watched Aston Villa yesterday, only on Match of the Day. Ashley Young looks like a gazelle running through the middle of the field, and he threads a ball through to Watkins that's into his path. Our players don't pass it. What too many people don't see is the simple smoothness of good, accurate passes with good weight. People see the long balls and all this fancy stuff. Ashley Young played a pass to Ollie Watkins yesterday that probably 70% of our players would have got wrong. It's perfectly into his pace, into his stride. He doesn't have to break stride got a lot to do, and he ends up scoring a great goal. If one of our players, most of our players, would have passed that ball to Watkins, he probably had to slow down a little bit. People
well, Ricky Donny did it 3 times yesterday, didn't he?
Van der Beek can do it. You know, everybody was slagging Ashley Young. He's still better than Wan-Bissaka now, Ashley Young. You know,
so not in a better position.
Well, he's 35 now, isn't he? Is he 35, 36? So he's coming on as a sub now. But you've got plenty of games for Inter Milan last year and won the league. You know what I mean? And don't disrespect the Italian league either. It makes me blood boil. Matteo Darmian playing regular. You know, I said this when we bought him, £50 million. See his header yesterday, Wan-Bissaka. Any decent fullback helps that on out for a corner, reset, get behind the ball.
You know
what?
I don't care
if it boils your blood, mate.
I've got Serie A is
no.
You know, on your telly, can you do the thing where you go 1.5 and it's a little bit faster? Serie A is like going 0.5. It's a little bit slower. It is. I love Serie A, but it is a bit slower.
I'm trying to boil his blood.
It's boiling.
It is. It is.
Adam, we'll go back to you on this. Are we? I want to talk about where we go from here because everyone's going to have their ideas. Of course, there's lots to get through the show. But Adam, where are you tonight? Are we in a better position? I mean, youth was mentioned. Feel good factor, like Ricky said, everyone's friends. Are we in a better position tonight?
Well, you're going to be absolutely shocked because I actually agree with Ricky. I don't think we are as a team. I mean, look where we are now. If you're going off what it is right now, as he's left, and I'm taking this season into consideration, 4 points in 21, we conceded more goals than we have scored. I mean, I look at us closer to the relegation zone than we are to the top 4, never mind the title, what we should have been fighting for. So really, he's left us right now, not. Yeah, you could say the feel-good factor. And I said this the other day, and people were saying the rebuild, it's been good. They've got the feel-good factor back. I was there under Van Gaal and Mourinho. I never seen fans leaving at half-time or booing the way they've booed Ollie's team. I've never seen that. I've never seen what I've seen yesterday. And I said it then before. I said the fans are divided because Ollie's in charge. That's not his fault because he's a legend, like we've all said, and he's dividing opinion because we're stuck in our emotions of what we remember Ollie as a player and what we remember him or going to remember him as a manager. As a manager, really, if you're going to accept the standards that the club are happy with, then he's been all right. But if you're a United fan like me, my standards are different, then really he's not been a success. And you're talking about the youth team here. And I said it. I mean, Matt, you touched on it yesterday, I think, on your show. And I said it in the I said it after the West Ham Cup game. How United cannot have a youth team player on that pitch having made 11 changes to the starting lineup is an absolute joke. And yeah, you could put some of that blame down on the club for keeping players on certain contracts and whatnot. But these are players on the contracts that Ollie still will not play in the games. So what are they doing at the club? It's messed up. Not all his fault, I know. But if you're going to ask me right now if he's left us in a better position, he's got a better squad because he's had more backing than any other manager post Alex Ferguson, and he has been backed. So he's left us with, I think, the best squad we've had since Alex Ferguson.
Yeah, that's expenditure, isn't it? That's just money spent, yeah.
I do think that, but I'm looking at players improved under him. I've seen more regression than I have progression in a lot of players, I'll be honest. And that's just from what I'm seeing. And then, like I said, I go back to the players I think basically down in tools, and I don't agree with that one bit. But I don't see us being in a stronger position now. I see us in a bit of a mess right now, honestly, because there's a lot of players dejected. There's a lot of players don't know what's happening. And now the club have put Carrick in charge. And honestly, I'm a bit concerned until this interim manager comes in that I just don't see anything changing as much. I don't see how it changes because it's the same. That's how I feel. It's just I just don't see it getting better.
Adam, you say about the booing at half-time yesterday. Do you think that was mainly aimed at the players, or was it more directed at Solskjaer?
Everything. Yeah, everything. It was a combined, because like I said in the press conference video last week, he's talking about working on a few things and you know what? Everyone knew that the players were given the chance to go on holiday at the worst time that this one of the worst times post-Alex Ferguson this club is going through. And then to come back and say we're working on a few things, we've sussed it out, and we will start games better. I made a big point about that. First thing we've seen in the first few minutes, I remember Zaka passed the ball 10 yards out of play. I'm just like, start the games better. Literally, handed minutes of the game. Nothing had changed. And I was just like, here we go again. And then the groans came. And then literally, we should have been 3 or 4-0 down at half time. And for us to be playing as bad against City and Liverpool as we are against Watford. I mean, Watford had as many shots on target as Liverpool and City did. This is Watford. And that's what the fans couldn't take. They want to support him, but they've just been dragged down to a point where it's like, wow, there's nothing there. And that's what it was. They were just... And do you know what? I heard players slagging Luke Shaw. I heard fans slagging Luke Shaw off, calling him a coward because he walked off after taking the ball. I don't know if it hit him in the face. I couldn't see properly. This is what fans were doing. They absolutely lost the plot.
It was concussed, wasn't it? Yeah.
You know what, mate? On that question, it was all together. It was the players and Ole more than just Ole.
The only reason I asked that question was because obviously at half time watching that, I think it was clear to me that the players are down tools, and we've been here before under Moyes, Mourinho, and Louis van Gaal as well. And yesterday, it just struck a chord, and I thought, and Roy Keane called this a couple of years ago. He said these same players have thrown previous managers under the bus. They will do exactly the same again, and exactly the same things happen. And as a Manchester United fan,
I thought this was Ollie's squad now, Kev. Is it the same players that have thrown him under the bus? Quite a few changes, isn't there, since, you know...
There is changes, but there's some players there that are still mentality
right in what he said, then we can actually pick which players they are, because some of these players, you know, at least half of that team weren't here, the other managers. So, you know, you can start naming names. Who's thrown him under the bus? If you're talking about the ones that were here before, who threw the other managers under the bus, in the team that started yesterday, who was here then? Wan-Bissaka wasn't here, Maguire wasn't here, Lindelof, Luke Shaw, McTominay, Matic and Rashford, I think. The rest are all new.
Matic.
Five players that threw him under the bus.
Matic threw him under as well yesterday, mate. Let's not forget him, Rick.
From what I can think of the outfield players, 5 players were there under the previous managers and 5 weren't.
I said yesterday, I don't know what anyone thinks about this, just to hop in. I said this yesterday. I don't think these players down tools, because I actually think that when you're coached so badly, it doesn't matter how hard you try. If you're up against a team that's coached well, you can run around and try. But if it just looks like chaos. I mean, I don't for 1 minute think against Liverpool those players weren't up for it. £75,000 75,000 fans at Old Trafford. You know, you're playing Liverpool, and yet you could have easily interpreted that they down tools at that game. I just think the coaching is so bad. To me, it's been an experiment ever since Liverpool on how you can have an amazing squad and get beaten. It's like David versus Goliath, but Goliath has tied his shoes together and wear the blindfold. It's like Watford, like Adam said, they could have been 4 or 5-0 up. I mean, I don't know what Gary Neville's on about. De Gea had a bad game yesterday. He saved 2 penalties in a row. Like, you know, it could have been. You know what? It could have been.
Gary Neville was trying to blame De Gea for that goal. Yeah. The silver goal against City was sort of an error on De Gea's part, but Maguire and Shaw were to blame before that, and he just totally avoided it. I think
on a good day, every single one of their goals was savable yesterday. Every one of them on a good day. It was the first one from King. He missed it. It was bouncy. He threw his leg at it, and it went under his leg, so it went between his legs. There was one, I think, the third goal from a really narrow angle. Lindelof should have done better.
Third goal, he should have saved it. Yeah, I agree with that.
He went through his legs. The fourth goal, I think he was overcompensating and going too near to his near post because he'd just been beat on his near post, and then it went in the far post. And the second goal by Sarr, again, I don't think his angles were perfectly right. I think he was a little bit too...
But this to me, Ricky, is like the people who are saying Ronaldo's the reason we've gone bad.
I'm not saying the reason, no, but I don't think... I mean, there's a lot of... You know, there's certain players... I don't know, getting a free ride, if you like. And I don't think, Gary Neville said it, and I disagree with a lot of what Gary Neville said, but I do think the keeper yesterday left a lot to be desired.
I think De Gea has been impeccable this season. He's always going to make the goalkeeper's always going to make mistakes.
Today, Mark.
Yeah.
Look, if you look at our goal yesterday, no goalkeeper in the world could have saved that. No goalkeeper in the world could have saved it. I believe all 4 of their goals were savable on a given day. I'm not expecting him to save all 4 of them yesterday. I'm not saying that, but at least a couple of them.
I think he's on a. I think there's a list of players that deserve a lot more. But I would say give the player. Well, we'll have to see what happens.
Mark, I'm not disagreeing. All I'm saying is Gary Neville's getting dug out for saying that the keeper was pretty poor, and I thought the keeper could have done better yesterday. I agree with him. I agree with him for the change.
So it's all about opinion, mate.
Yeah, what you were just talking about, Mark, as well. I agree with you to a certain extent about the play. I like what you said about the players not throwing the toys out of the pram and not working for him. I'd love to believe that. I heard Alan Shearer say it last night, by the way, that that they're not working for him. I don't believe players go out on a pitch and don't try to win. I really don't. And
I think that makes it worse, Ricky, because I think that they actually do want to play for him, and they can't because he's so bad.
They aren't very good. That's all it is. They're trying the best. They're just not very good.
See, I think they're trying the best in the coaching shit. That's what I think. So, we're both right or we're both wrong. Beth, you're desperately trying to get in. Sorry.
I know the comments just. No, what I was going to say before is that I disagree. I think Solskjaer's left the club in a better state.
You've muted yourself.
I think when Mourinho came...
I muted you on purpose there. I thought you were talking shit. I thought, we don't want to talk this.
I think when Mourinho left us, the atmosphere was toxic. It was a horrible place to be. I thought the squad was depleted. Everyone has their opinions on the players that have left. The only player that's left that is regretful for me is Herrera. I don't think anyone else is regretful for me. I think Ollie came in. I thought he brought the atmosphere back. He did what he came in to do. I think he's made very good signings. And despite what Ricky thinks, I think we have a great squad now. And I agree with you, Mark. I think the coaching isn't good enough. And I said it in my match log yesterday. It's hard to watch because the players are so passive. They're not focused. They look scared. But yet when we concede and things are going wrong, they look very, very frustrated. And it's like they're taking it out on each other. I don't think they've gone out there to lose. I really don't think that. I think, like you said, they are coached very poorly. And I think Ollie's hit a brick wall and he couldn't get past it. But do I think he's left us in a better position? It shouldn't have gone on for as long as it has. And these results have been one of the worst I've seen in years. And I agree that I'm not seeing it at the point where fans are walking off, fans are booing that loudly. But at the same time, I think if it had been after the Liverpool game and it hadn't got to this point, then for me, that it would have been in a better place than what Mourinho left the club in. I think Mourinho left it very toxic. And I think Ollie came in and he did everything he could to get the club to where he wanted to be. He wasn't good enough, nowhere near good enough. But I definitely thought he brought the right players in with the budget he had. He should have brought a CDM on him. Of course, you can go back on that. But I think he's made some great signings. And I think if another manager who is an elite manager and has the ability to take the squad to the next level comes in, I think you'll see a massive, massive change. And I think Ollie knows that this squad's got the potential to go out and win stuff. I personally think that. I know, Ricky, you think that some of the players are crap. I think they've been poorly coached. There's some players that aren't good enough, 100%. But I do think we've got some great players in there that under different management will...
I'm just going to add my bit and then you can have yours, Kev, because I'll forget. I mean, somebody did say, will you tell us what you think? And very, very quickly, I think that we're in a worse position. I think history won't be kind to Solskjaer as a coach. It'll be kind to him as a legend player. I think that I think he's probably the worst coach we've had, certainly since Sir Alex. And I know I'm not going to be popular for saying this, but I think that his development of the youth has been shocking. Like you have more subs on the bench now than you've ever had. And where's Alanga? Where's Hannibal Mabry? I don't see the development of youth. I think the style of football is worse than Mourinho, apart from a handful of performances. And, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember shipping 4 goals, 5 goals, 2 goals, 4 goals in 5 Premier League games for a very long time. And 4 points from 21 is the treatment of some players and the favouritism, picking McTominay and Fred for a year. I think, it's very sad that Ollie's crying, and it's very sad that he's not, we're in this emotional thing. But I am not going to be kind about this situation. It's been horrible the last few weeks, and I don't think I think I agree with Beth. I think we've got a great squad. No, I think we've got a good squad. We haven't got a great midfield. And I think if we had a good coaching staff, we'd be fine. The problem is we have got a very, very poor coaching staff and coach. And that, to me, is why I think Van Gaal and Mourinho had a better career at Manchester United, because they produced trophies and Ollie didn't.
And the old favourites tag is the main one, because if you persist with Fred and McTominay in midfield against teams like Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea, you're going to get absolutely dominated. And that's exactly what's happened this season. And it goes back to the question, why splash out 70-odd million on Jadon Sancho, a player that's rarely featured this season, when that money could have been better invested in somebody in the middle of the park? We're absolutely missing something in the middle of the park. And that's where the battles are won in football games, technically. And Donny van der Beek, again, it's the biggest mystery at Manchester United as Manchester United fans. The one shining light from yesterday's game at Watford was him coming on at half-time, getting that goal, bit of passion, going to the away fans, come on. He's the only one that actually looked up for it yesterday. And forward passing, we've been starved of that in the midfield since the days of like Michael Carrick playing forward passes. We're used to this McTominay, Fred, left, right, keep it simple, whatever. Just having that extra option of Donny van der Beek yesterday. Twice he played in Ronaldo with sublime passes. And we've not had that. You need that dimension to your game. Manchester City have it in abundance. Technically brilliant players in the middle of the park. And they just run the show. De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva. They're just blessed with technically great players. For me, McTominay and Fred, it's just a total mismatch, especially when you come up against a really, really good team. But even Watford yesterday, Watford do everything that we don't. They run. Manchester United didn't do that yesterday in 45 minutes. They play as a team. They're not a team of individuals. And they all tap into the same philosophy. They played as a team yesterday. They deserve to beat Manchester United. And that's everything that we want as a fan. Whereas us are just absolutely shambolic.
I thought we played really well for 25 minutes at the start of the second half.
Yeah.
Until Maguire did what he did.
Yeah.
I thought Van der Beek mainly, but also Martial. He gave us a bit more control, got passing the ball around. We probably made as many chances in that 25-minute spell as we've made in a whole game this season, and I include the likes of Leeds and Newcastle in that. If you think about it, Van der Beek put Ronaldo clean through. Can't remember if he shot over the bar. Martial put him clean through, and he should have scored. He missed again. Ronaldo played a ball to the edge of the box where Bruno took a touch and smacked it over the bar. Should have hit the target at least. Martial played a beautiful ball to the edge of the box to Van der Beek, who could have shot, and he flicked it to the side, but Ronaldo was offside. I thought Van der Beek should have had a shot. And there was 2 or 3 others where we were mad. Those were all chances that were genuine chances. There was 2 or 3. I know they're not chances when you're offside, but there's 2 or 3 others where the flag went up. But at least you look like you're opening the team up and you're growing in confidence. Up until Maguire did what he did, I thought we were going to at least get a draw out of it, if not win it. He did really well for 25 minutes. Once you're down to 10 men, snookered.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say snookered. For me, I thought we were still. I thought we were still in the game. We're still in the game, even when we went down to 10 men. It's just then when the going really got tough, you need to see some characters come out, and that's when we sort of lost our way again. Then, like Maguire was a disgrace yesterday, in my opinion, but the rest of the players sort of sunk when that happened, and that mentality side of it is what knacks me, and that's the biggest concern. It's like, oh, we've done all this, we played well for 20 minutes, and Ollie himself came out and said exactly the same thing. Said we played really well, but then when the chips go down, it's like, oh, here we go. This is it. World's on our shoulders. You know what? When your captain epitomises that very thing, then it sort of bleeds out into the rest of the team.
Do you think? What's your sort of match perception in the way that the match day fans, because I think it's very obvious what the social media fans think about Maguire. He's got to have the captaincy and took off him, hasn't he?
He's not going down well, mate. I'll be honest. Him. Do you know what? Funnily enough, him and Luke Shaw are not in good light with a lot of the fans at the moment. They're really not. They're seeing him sort of not making the same effort in their eyes, from what they're shouting anyway. But Maguire got dog's abuse yesterday. Absolute dog's abuse for what he did yesterday. And it was like the little simple things about him throwing the armband at Bruno, and then the discontent that came with it. It was just, he's, as a captain, and then what he did against England didn't help him. And you knew as soon as a mistake came for United, he was just going to get absolutely pounded on. And he, straight away, as soon as he puts that United shirt on, he just turns into a different player. And I go back to it again. It's like, where is your mentality? Can you handle it? And everything rolled into one, the poor form, not many other players in the best of form, the pressure on him all came to a crescendo yesterday. And that's why I said it was probably the worst that I've seen going to United.
It comes down to management, though. You need to nip things in the bud like that. Under previous regimes, this wouldn't be happening. You've got Jesse Lingard sending out a picture on the eve of a Manchester United match in a West Ham shirt, right? If you're the manager of Manchester United, or somebody has to pull rank on that. And then yesterday, he brings on Jesse Lingard. You've got the likes of Harry Maguire, you say yesterday, who I thought was absolutely disgraceful, the way he petulantly threw the armband, walks off the pitch. There's pictures of him out on the lash last night, which I don't hold it against footballers going out and having a drink and having a great time. But on reflection of what happened yesterday, you're the captain of Manchester United, for Christ's sake. You've just been sent off for an absolute stupid foul. You know, and it was stupid. He's caught out of position. It's a bit of a mad lunge. And it just sums Harry Maguire up at the minute. And we've had to endure this. You know, his best performances and Luke Shaw's were at the Euros. Now, people say, oh, they've got a bit of a hangover from the Euros. How long ago was the Euros? You know, we're well into the season here. Declan Rice he hasn't got much of a hangover, is he? He's putting in performances for West Ham every week. So they need to get that over that straight away. And that's why a lot of United fans, these ones that aren't England fans, and that'll be looking at that and going, well, how are you turning it on for England and you're not doing it for Manchester United? But the Air Cup in celebration against Albania, that finished me off time, because I was like, is he being serious? I'm like, how small time can you get? You scored a goal against Albania, mate. You know, Albania. My son.
Sit down, Roy Keane. Sit down, Roy Keane. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
At the end of the day, a lot of players, like, for example, Harry Maguire, what experience has he had apart from being at United of
relegation
things where you need a
relegated
mentality? A lot of players can't handle it. They like to think that they've got a big mentality and they can go out and they can do it for Manchester United, but a lot of players can't handle it, and a lot of players need that elite coaching to be able to do that. I don't know. I don't think these players are giving up. I don't think they can get over that mental hurdle. I don't know what else it could be, because Maguire, we've seen him go on runs where he's been decent, but then when he's bad, he's absolutely terrible. And I think his attitude around what's happened, that Air Cupping for a start, I thought was dreadful. You've been horrendous for United for months on end now, and you go out against Albania and do that. And not only does he do that, he then throws his team under the bus. He's the captain. He's been awful for months. He throws his team under the bus when they have a chance to come back against Watford. I thought that was terrible as well. And I think where Ollie went wrong is he let these players off for so long. He didn't discipline the way that he should do as a manager. And a lot of players got complacent. And I think along with his coaching staff, to players, he was loyal to a fault to them. And that's on his own back. He shouldn't have been that loyal to certain players. And again, with the favouritism comes in. Donny van de Beek, when he came onto that pitch yesterday, his attitude and the way he conducted himself is the way every single Manchester United player should be conducting themselves every single game. You could tell a clear difference between Donny van de Beek and a lot of the other players. He came on, he was shouting, he was demanding, he was at everyone's feet, he was going for every challenge, he was trying to go for every ball, he was spurring the team on. And whereas the rest of the players, a lot of them were passive until he came onto the pitch, and he didn't have that attitude. There was a big, big difference. And if everyone had that attitude yesterday, it might have been a different result. I feel like attitude and confidence is a lot to do with it. And you need to have a big mentality and you need to be a winner to go out there for Manchester United and to do that. And some
You're right,
players
Beth.
simply don't have that mentality. They just don't
You're
have
right,
it.
Beth. You're totally right. I mean, me and Ricky have plenty of chats off camera. You won't be surprised. We always disagree. But it's one thing we do agree on. It's like there's opportunities to make big calls as a manager, and players will, I think, if they've got the right mentality, take it on board and learn from it. It's like Ricky will say he doesn't like Bruno. He's made it quite clear. He won't mind me talking about that. But it's like, I don't mind if Bruno's having a shit game. Come off. Get him off the pitch, Ollie. Make the big change. Make the call. You know what I mean? If he's sat on the sideline and he sees something happen, if a Pogba or a Danny Van der Beek plays in his role that may help us or win us a game, then Bruno straight away, as a player who's got the right mentality, which I think he has, will learn from that and go, that's where I've gone wrong. Harry Maguire plays every single week. Bruno plays every single week. Not one time when they've had a bad game have they been dropped for the next game. Do you know what I mean? It's like that same defence played against Leicester, Liverpool, City. Not one of them has been dropped. And the same defence was out against Watford yesterday. And they were absolutely shambolic. How are they thinking, with Ollie in charge and this coaching setup, how are they thinking that they're doing anything wrong if they're not being dropped? And Ollie says, the training sessions have been great. It's been superb this week. We've seen so much more and we've worked on certain little things. Well, no, you've not, because the same thing happens every week and the players go out on the pitch and do exactly the same thing every single week, which isn't good enough for Man United. I do think that he could have really helped himself by doing like what Beth said and like what me and Ricky have said off camera in terms drop certain players if they're not playing well. They will take it on the chin. The big boys, even though some of them were apparently crying, which is complete crap yesterday, soft bastards. But for me, they'll learn from it. Do you know what I mean? If you have got the right mentality to be a Man United player, you will learn that being dropped for Manchester United is a common occurrence. And I have to get better.
I'm going to cut in. You're telling me McTominay and Fred aren't crying? They're never going to play again. The thing is, they are going to play. They are going to play again.
I'll set you up with that one, yeah, but you can have that one. But this is going to be funny now. Rolling into, we'll probably discuss it as well, but does anyone actually think that Scott and Fred are going to play against Villarreal on Tuesday afternoon? Do they think that they're going to start on the Carrick as well as Ole?
Fascinating, isn't it?
I think Donny will start. If he has anything about him, Donny will start. He has to start based on his performance against Watford. He has to. And I think he'll start with either McTominay or Fred, possibly.
I think it'll be... on that, Beth, I personally think it will be a Donny-Fred combination like it was against Young Boys.
No, do you reckon? See,
I think an interim.
How can you begin to think what Carrick thinks when all we really know is that Solskjaer has been playing?
That's what we want to know, isn't it, mate? That's what we want to know. Was he culpable?
I even think if he was culpable,
we haven't got any idea what Carrick thinks, really.
No, mate. And this is why it's so intriguing.
Might have been banging his door down for 6 months, like I would have been, saying you need to play Van der Beek at 10 and drop Bruno. Although,
mate, do you know what, mate?
I don't fancy that, Ricky.
Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they threw all in the bus.
I will say that I do believe that if Carrick had been banging his door down, I do think he would have swayed him. I don't think he's been banging his door down.
100%.
You watch that clip when Ollie starts crying. What makes him start crying? When the Carrick comes in his mouth. That sounds completely wrong. I don't mean that. I don't mean that. But I mean when he puts the word Carrick in his mouth, he starts crying.
They must have made decisions together, and that's
I've absolutely messed up. When the word Carrick comes in his mouth, he starts crying. He does. He goes. He says, "I'm going to really miss the players." And Michael Carrick, I've got a lot of time for Carrick. Oh, and that's when he starts going like that. So he obviously respects Carrick. Ricky was what I was going to say. He respects Carrick. So I think him and Carrick have probably spoken about the team. But as an interim coach normally will pick the team that pleases the players and the fans, won't they, Ricky?
Well, you would think that, but Carrick's been at his side all through this time. They must discuss the team a hell of a lot. If I was the assistant manager or his coach, I'd be speaking to him about it 12 hours a day, and I would be trying to get him to play the players that I think, and I doubt very much that there's one player who's not getting hardly any game time. For the lack of game time that Van der Beek gets, even Juan Mata, by the way, don't laugh. The lack of game time that certain...
What's happened to Juan Mata?
No, he's on the bench again, I think, wasn't he? But I don't believe Carrick is banging the door down for any of them players. So, they would have had a little bit or a lot more game time if he was. So you've got to think. I've just said that you can't really guess what he's going to do. But on the other hand, he must have been agreeing with most of this. It wouldn't surprise me if it was McTominay and Fred, Bruno, Greenwood, Ronaldo, and Rashford. Wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah.
And if it is,
yes, man.
Well, Fred's starting because he was rested for Watford.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Carrick's going to, even if he's been in full support of McFred, which I suspect he has been, like Ricky said, I do feel that Ollie's the type of person, from what I've seen, especially after the interview. If anyone was saying to him, giving him different opinions, as he said, he's the manager and he listens to the coaching staff. I do feel like if they would have said anything, he might have changed it up. But I still think Carrick getting this role now, I think he's going to go straight on to what the fans want. And I do think Donny will start. I don't think he can afford to start McFred. I really don't. And I think he's going to turn his back on that. And I do think Donny will start.
Which is why they need to move fast and get Carrick out of that position as soon as possible.
Bad, because
Beth,
this is the whole point we're
Beth,
talking
I
about.
want your face to this. React to this, right? What time's the Michael Carrick press conference tomorrow, Beth? Does that sound good? The Michael Carrick press conference.
We've got a Michael Carrick press conference.
Well, he's the manager.
Yes.
This is what I mean. We've got a Michael Carrick press conference tomorrow.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
I actually feel honoured that I actually did the last Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference.
Next time we want someone sacking, you can do the press conference.
Do you know what? It's going to be weird to hear Carrick talk about it. It's going to be interesting, actually. This might be the first one I tune into for a while, to be fair.
This is it.
He was never the most charismatic player. I loved him as a player, but he was never the most charismatic player on
his books and his book is an all right read. But it's like Ricky said there, and what Beth said there. The intrigue of what happens next is what's actually keeping us alive at the moment. We're like, it's a new era, but we want to know how much of an impact Carrick had on what we've just witnessed for the last couple of seasons. We want to know, and that's where every United fan is, because if it's exactly the same, then you know what's coming, don't you? It's like, well, why haven't this lot been ditched with Ole?
Imagine he comes out against Villarreal. It's Dallo, it's Tellez, it's Baye, it's.
But he can't do that. There's too many personalities he can't.
Imagine it's that though. It'd be crazy. But
you could also say
change it a little bit.
You could also say if he totally rips up and changes this team, and you're like, you could sort of question Michael Carrick then and say, well, you've been one of the coaches for whatever years. And then again, the other flip side of the argument is, obviously, was it totally down to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Or would Michael Carrick, could you say, has he been a bit weak there? As a coach, would he not be going into Solskjaer and saying, what's the crack here with Donny van der Beek? He's played 2 minutes in a year or whatever. He needs more game time. He's training well or whatever. What's the crack with Fred and McTominay in midfield? And that's the thing that always gets me about Michael Carrick as a coach. One of the best players of his generation as a midfielder, totally underrated. How he never got in the England team, totally beyond me. But he knows that role as a midfielder. And in a position we're struggling in, you'd think he would have more input in the centre of the park. So I think it does make it very intriguing this week to see exactly how Manchester United would line up against Villarreal.
Would it not be disrespectful, Kev? Really? I mean, maybe not. But, if on Tuesday night he goes and plays a completely different team, because it's like, well, you've spent 3 years with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as his right-hand man, really. And then you get sacked and you pick a different team. Is that not like, yeah, it's all on Ollie? Look, it's all on Ollie. It was nothing to do with me and McKenna and Phelan. It was all on Ollie. I mean, that's one way of looking at it, I suppose, is that if they go and change it too much, it's like, it's throwing Ollie under the bus even more.
It is, but if it was on him, and let's just say Solskjaer has been stubborn and not listened to anyone else and gone with his favourites, I'm going to play my favourite players every week, regardless of whether they're dog shit or whatever they're in the team, then he can only be held accountable for that, and he's lost his job, hasn't it?
But
And
you know, when you watch the games, Kev,
yeah,
you're like Carrick because you've got your headphones in, right? And if Adam's Ollie, when you see him on the touchline, they're like this. They're chatting with each other all the time. I just don't.
I don't think he'll make too many changes, but he's got to change the midfield, and that's just that's probably one of the only changes that I'd expect. The midfield, possibly maybe the fullbacks. I don't know. I don't think the fullbacks have been great for a while, and I think they deserve putting in the place and being dropped, if I'm honest.
What would you change the midfield to, though, Beth? We haven't got a lot of options, have we?
No.
Well, I know that's the thing. Obviously, Matic played at the weekend. If it's true he can only play one game a week, then he's out of the question. Donny has to play for me. The thing is, I don't trust McTominay or Fred next to him, so it's a hard decision. But I think he has to play one way or another.
Donny van der Beek deserves to be in.
Definitely.
I'd probably throw Fred in alongside him, to be honest.
But I don't trust Fred next to him.
Oh, I think McTominay's absolutely abysmal. So
I mean, look at the game against Young Boys and when Fred and Donny van der Beek played in that game. There, I think someone brought up Donny's pass percentages before he was sacrificed by Ole because Aaron Wan-Bissaka had a brain fart. He was absolutely on point. Everything was bang on. And you know what? They weren't horrendous in that. Yeah, it was Young Boys, I know, but on that type of pitch, I just feel like against Villarreal, I think the combination may work in our favour because you've got that link up then. You've got Fred who can do, if you can get into Fred just to do what he does and then just get that ball off simple to Donny and let him pull the strings, then that could work. It could work. You just can't have Donny, you can't have McFred in there. It's just got to be, and at the moment I'm swaying more towards Fred because I think McTominay is having a really poor spell at the moment. Yeah, everyone was crap yesterday, but for me, I just think Fred probably. I can't believe I'm saying it. I'm trying to make it work with Fred. It's ridiculous, but like Ricky says, we're clutching at straws because there really isn't anything else that you can do. We're literally got what
Lindelof.
Oh, don't.
Phil Jones.
It's crazy to think the only CDM we actually have is Matic, and he can't play more than one game a week. Like how? You
know what? On that Matic thing, on the Matic thing, Beth. Actually, I mean, do we know? Because we don't.
That's how it's assumed because he's not done that. He's not played more than one game a week for so long, and oftentimes things would be going wrong. And he'd bring
Matic is the closest thing to Carrick, so you'd think Carrick might start him if he could start him. And Matic and Donny are the best too. Donny plays best with Matic, like he does. Yep.
It's maybe start Matic and Donny van der Beek, and then
it was
bring
Donny
Fred
and Matic
on
yesterday, wasn't it, in the second half? And it worked.
Exactly. It's like we said, we played our best football with both. I mean, we've been shouting it out since pre-season that we need it to be Matic and Donny van der Beek. So
we won't do it against Chelsea, though.
I mean, it's like that. It's like Matic coming in. I think as an older player, if you're coming in having not played for 2 months, which pretty much is what Matic is, then you're going to be a bit rusty. And when you go into a championship game like that against Watford, when it's all hustle and bustle, you got caught out a few times early doors, but it's hard to come straight into a Premier League game like that, just thrown in all of a sudden like that. I mean, he's hardly made a sub appearance going up to that as well. So I don't think we know about Matic. I think if you can play Ronaldo every week, then you can play Matic, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I'm a fan of Matic's, and I know he gave the ball away cheaply.
Are you a fan of Matic, Ricky? You never told me.
Not that quiet.
But he gave the ball away 3 or 4 times cheaply yesterday. But doesn't Fred give the ball away 3 or 4 times cheaply?
No, Ricky, he doesn't. He gives it 6 or 7 times cheaply. That's what he does.
The thing is with Fred, he gets caught out of position so often. So with Donny playing next to him, that's the only thing that it'd worry me. You'd need someone back in CDM. You'd be like, oh, where's Fred? Oh, he's flying down the left wing again, thinking he can go and play the attacking role. And that's the only thing that worries me about him. If he just stayed in his position, he'd be a better player. He's never going to be an amazing CDM. He's not got the strength, and he gives the ball away too much. But his positional sense is just all over the place for me.
Let's move the conversation on a bit. I'm going to start off with Ricky here because he's seen it all. He's seen more than some of us. The manager's gone.
Yeah.
Where are you going? Yeah, it's breaking news. Manager's been sacked. The manager's been sacked. Not Carrick yet. He is the manager at the moment. Where would you go next, Ricky? You know, because to be honest with you, this is a rarity on a fan channel. What you say could be what the club's thinking, because they don't know what to do either. They might even be watching for this, Ricky. This might be what they might be tuning in. What does Ricky say? Because the club don't know what they're doing. So you can basically say anything. It's not going to be wrong. What would you do? The club have said they've got Carrick, they're going to get an interim, then they're going to get another manager, which actually works out as 4 managers in 6 months when you think about it. What would you do?
I couldn't believe that they didn't have the idea up the sleeve who they were going to contact already. To name an interim manager to the interim manager was just unbelievable for me. Unbelievable. They should have had it, nailed on. And I've no doubt in my mind that if he was to happen to win the next, say win 2 or 3 and draw 1 or 2 out of the next 5, obviously we've got some tough games. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? Won't surprise me one bit if they said, right, well, we'll keep him as the interim until the summer. And it's like stepping stones. And then if he does well till the summer, you know what could happen then. Do you know what I mean? So
don't say that.
No, that's what could happen. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if he did. If we go and win. Look, it's a tough game, Chelsea. I'll be staggered if we win there. But nothing's impossible in football. If we go and win in Villarreal and then win at Stamford Bridge, won't surprise me one bit if they said, right, you can stay till summer. Won't surprise me one bit. But who they gonna go for though? If that's what you're asking me, but you mean as an interim or?
Yeah.
From what I'm reading, what's he called? Rangnick. He's not doing anything. Yeah, if he's available, if he wants to do it, you've got to try and get him. You've got to try and get him.
I just add that before I go to you, Beth. I think that I absolutely will say this right here, right now. Carrick, McKenna, and Phelan, if they carry on for more than 2 games, this club deserves everything it gets, because this is not a change. Like, this is the same managerial team as the last 3 years with a different coat on. Like, it's not a change. So what would you go with Rangnick there from Ricky? Which I think would be interesting, because he'd work as an interim and then bring someone in. Beth, what about yourself? What are you thinking United need to do? Who would you go?
Well, I don't know if it's money, or I don't know much about obviously football and contracts and etc. But I think if we were a serious club, we'd go and get a manager right now to take over. I mean, I think everyone knows that my personal option would be Ten Hag, and I think Romano just tweeted that he got asked about it in an interview after the Ajax game today, and he said, I've not heard anything about it, so I can't comment on it. So that's not really turning it down. And I just think if you did go all out I think you could get a manager out of a club. I do think you could. At the end of the day, we still have the name of Manchester United. I don't think the board will be capable of doing it, and I don't think they will do it. But that is what I'd do. I'd go all out for someone serious that is seriously going to take over now, because it's all right waiting until summer. And I do think it's a big job to come into Manchester United now, but it's better. You need all the time you can get with these players. And it could be the difference between players leaving, players going. And we need someone to come in and seriously turn it around now. And the players need to know what future they're going to have. So for me, I'd go out and get who you want to get now. But if you can't do that, God, as you guys said, I don't think Carrick should be in charge for these 2 games personally. I think it's completely wrong. You might as well have just kept Ollie till you have a replacement, if that's the way you're going to go about it. But as an interim manager, I agree with Ricky, but I don't think they'll do it. I think Rangnick would be perfect. I think he'd come in. I think he'd teach the players the basics, and I think he'd kind of reset the football club and get things moving again. And do I think the club will do it? No, because he'll want a lot of control. He'll want to come in. He'll want to do things his way. And I don't have any faith or any trust in the board whatsoever. I think the worst that I think whatever they do, I want to have faith in him to go and do the right thing, but I think it'll be a safe option. Again, that's kind of going to cover their backs. I really, really do. And there's been links to Brendan Rodgers and Pochettino, and I think it'll be an interim till the summer, and then I think it'll be one of them that comes in. I don't want either of them managers personally, but that's what I think will happen. But if they were a serious club, they'd go out and get someone now, try and save the season, try and kickstart in the Champions League, because you can still do that at this point. But I don't see them doing that. I mean, they've not even had a plan for when Ollie's going to leave, and he's been on poor form for weeks and weeks now. So I don't have any trust in the board.
Kev?
Ten Hag, got to totally agree with that, 100%. Now, whether you can get him now, or I would be willing to wait until the end of the season. If you could guarantee that in the summer that man comes to Manchester United. For me, he's sort of the next kind of Jurgen Klopp, a forward-thinking kind of guy. He looks after everything. He'll oversee everything. For me, I know the word philosophy is bandied out and an identity in football, but for me, that's what we're lost at Manchester United at the minute. And we've had the piss taken out of us everywhere we go under Mourinho, part of the bus, Man United, Van Gaal. But in fairness to them, they constructed teams that were defensively difficult to break down. It was just scoring goals that was a problem there. There is a kind of fine line. Ten Hag would be the main one for me. I think he's a coach that if we don't get in the summer, or possibly even now, if we could attain him, the likes of Manchester City, Liverpool in the next couple of years, when they're looking to replace managers, will be looking at this manager. And that's where we need to be. We need to be looking at the next elite manager, because we've had some awful times over the years. And I think this is a forward-looking manager, somebody he interests me. And I like listening to what he has to say. He knows about football, and he'll oversee everything from academy football. A style of play is the main thing for me at Manchester United, because we don't have one. You rock up at the Etihad, the Anfield, Stamford Bridge or whatever, and them fans are, it's not the United of old where it's like, we're going to be in for a tough game today. United are here, they play counter-attacking football, they play with width, they do this, that, because we don't. And we as supporters don't even know what we are at the minute. I don't even think the players know what they are.
Football, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. We've done this for a couple of seasons. We know it's not sustainable, where we played roughly about 45 minutes of football. And the big test this season was, and we've fallen behind this season. We've come back FC or whatever you want to call us. But I always said that looking ahead to that Liverpool and Manchester City game, it isn't sustainable, because when you fall behind against a better team like that, there is no coming back. And that's exactly what happened. 5-0 against Liverpool, 2-0 against Man City, and even Watford yesterday had our pants down totally. And there's just no identity at Manchester United anymore. We need to be put back on the map. It needs ripping up. And like you say, the backroom staff, everything. We need to get away from this. They played for Manchester United. I was frightened even last night reading reports that Darren Fletcher might take over. They're putting us in this position where you can't slag off certain people because he played for the club. I'm not going to slag him off, but I'm like, Darren Fletcher in charge at United, and now they've done the same with Michael Carrick. I just don't understand them going down this route again. It beggars belief. It's madness.
I do believe I do agree with you, Kev, in relation to Ten Hag, although he's not the one I'd go for. I wouldn't have any problem going with him. The only thing I would say is that if you wait till the end of the season, that's 7 months away. Tuchel came in 2 months after this and won a Champions League. I think in football, if Ten Hag wants the job, why would he not take it now, and why would you wait 7 months?
If you offered a manager the job, this Manchester United job, we all have different opinions on how good the players are, but with this set of players, if they say no, I want to wait till the end of the season, why would you want that person? You want someone to come in that wants to come and manage Manchester United.
This is what I was saying the other day. This is like the arrogance of United fans thinking that we are as big as what we once was. We're not. We have to accept what situation we're in right now, which is a mess. And we've destroyed managers' careers. I said this on the show the other day. It's like, look what's happened to everyone since they've been at Man United, since they've gone. This, for me, all comes down to the players that are here right now. If you was going to bring a manager in right now that you wanted to keep, it has to be Zidane, because you've got the Ronaldo factor and players like that. I think if, like I said the other day, if we implode, it'd be better for Ten Hag to take over in the summer, because I feel he will work best out of all the managers without the likes of Pogba and Ronaldo and Cavani. I think if you want a manager now and you want a permanent manager right now, there's only Zidane. I do believe an interim manager would be the right option right now. I do, because I don't think Zidane is... you don't know, do you? We don't know how good Zidane's coaching is. He was dealing with some of the best players on the planet. And right now, I do feel he's probably the best equipped to handle what we've got in our squad. I do. But I know the likes of the situations with the contracts on certain players like the Pogbas, Cavani's and all these players leaving, that I would probably sway towards Ten Hag in the summer. Ranić right now, yeah, I think he would get the respect. I think he would be the best option as an interim going into a permanent to go to Ten Hag, because you'd have to try and get the players playing now similar to how you're going to take over in the summer. So I think that combination works well. Or, like Beth said there, if you're going to go in for one, it only looks like there's one option out there, and that's Zidane. And you go all out for him, and then you have to pretty much say, all my eggs are in this basket. He's got Ronaldo, he's got Varane, he's got all these world-beating players. Maybe he will turn Pogba around. Maybe he will figure out that midfield option with Pogba. I don't know. But if you was going to get a full-time manager now, it would be Zidane. But for me, I think you got to say, look, do you want a manager in now who can handle the egos, or do you want a coach who can actually put a system in place? You've got to choose. I mean, we've got a squad right now that could probably, I know it sounds crazy, but with Zidane, you never know, this team could go and win the Champions League like Tuchel did. But he's the only man available right now, I think, who would take us to that point. I don't think we're going to get a Ten Hag right now after what he's been saying. I think he wants to wait till the summer. Ranić, it would sort of just be putting someone in place to see us through till the end of the season. Are we willing to accept that we shouldn't be challenging for any trophies right now? Have we dropped that low? For me, realistically, it looks like right now Zidane, but I still would take Ten Hag. I've got to be honest. I do like the way he talks, and I think with the likes of Donny and this type of player, and if Pogba isn't staying, it sort of suits the future better. And I know he would probably make something more of the youth system than any of the others. You could argue Pochettino may, and he's the perfect man. He's had the Gary Neville seal of approval already on Sky today. I've seen that interview. But
it's definitely,
you know what I mean, he would work on a budget for the Glazers. For them, you can see the pluses for them. Honestly, it's a tough one to call. It really is. I'm stuck between two. It's like I don't want to give up on this season. I think it's salvageable. I do.
It is if you get someone now. How could you not go and get that manager that you want now? If
we're not the pull that everyone thinks we are. This Manchester United tag isn't there anymore.
I think Ten Hag could come if you bought him out of Ajax.
The problem for me is that this job, and I've said it before, I think the problem with the job is that if I was Ten Hag or Zidane or Pochettino or whoever else, Rodgers, who's thinking about going for the job, and I don't think the club have realised this, and maybe we're not approaching the right people, is that the job is better to take now than it is in the summer. They're thinking, in the summer, I've got a bit of time off. I'm telling you, the job for United is going to be harder in the summer. Because if we're in the Europa League, Ronaldo might be gone. Cavani will be gone. Pogba will be gone. Van der Beek might have had enough. Martial will probably have had enough. Matic will retire. Maybe Bailly will go. Dalot will go. Telles will go. In the summer, you're going to have far more problems that you won't be able to control. If you come in now and Van der Beek's important to you, you can actually get him to stay. You could even get Pogba to stay. You can start planning about what you're going to do in the summer. You come in the summer, you ain't seeing those players until mid-July. Your season starts. It's an early start. Early start to the season.
Summer as well.
Yeah, early start to the season. New manager's going to get 2-3 weeks. And he's got to go through everybody. So that it writes off next season as well, because they haven't got long enough. They've got to get somebody in now, but their fans are having the wool pulled over their eyes again. I don't think we're looking at Ten Hag. I don't think Man United board would go anywhere near Ten Hag because the Man United board's incompetent. I don't think United board would go anywhere near Ten Hag because Ten Hag is a clever choice. He's an upcoming manager, like Kev was saying, and like Adam was saying, and Beth was saying. They don't go that. They'll go Pochettino because Pochettino's the guy they wanted 3 years ago. Well, there's a reason Pochettino was a good choice 3 years ago, because 3 years ago he probably was a good choice. Right now, Pochettino's yesterday's news. I think he's a big choice. For me, Zidane number one. He's obviously too clever to take the job. He won't bloody come here. And then, I know it's very unpopular, but I'll say what I said last week. I would take Brendan Rodgers. I would take him because he's way better than what we've got at the moment. But the club's the club are like us. They've got no bloody idea what to do. And these are the people running the club.
There's not many options out there, and that's the fact about it. There's not many options out there, but
I think there's always options, Beth. I think if you're Manchester United, if you're Man City, There's options. If you're at Chelsea, there's options. We just not run well.
I agree. We've got limited options because of the way that we work. And I hope I'm wrong, but I do think it's either going to be Pochettino or Rodgers, both of which I think are safe options, and both of which I think are good managers, but they're not elite managers. I mean, people say, what's the difference between Ten Hag? He's in the Dutch league. I like the way he plays football with Ajax, and as Kev said, he's an up-and-coming manager, and he's also doing in the Champions League as well. Like, they played Dortmund off the park twice, and Dortmund aren't a pushover in the Champions League. They nearly beat City to it last year. So I just
they won't
think
go for him, Beth, because he's too much of a risk, and they're like, oh God, we'll look a right idiot if we get him in and he comes over and he's really bad. They won't.
Yeah, but look an idiot if they get a ex-Liverpool manager in and he does badly. It's like,
well, it's like
he's
Zidane.
Proven.
It's like Zidane. You could look and think, just the way that Manchester United had run, it's almost like, would that be the last throw of the dice to try and get Paul Pogba to sign a new deal? You wouldn't be surprised in the least if that's how they were working and looking at the Zidane. Yeah, we bring Zidane in. You know, Paul Pogba idolised Zidane. You know, next minute he signed a new 5-year contract. You know, the £90 million asset is sealed. You know, you just wouldn't know how Manchester United look at it now because it's run as a business. That's the sickening thing. Whereas, is Zidane really, you know, is that where we're at the minute? I don't know. Is he the top choice to come in and turn things around? I know he's managed Ronaldo, Varane, and he might be able to get the best out of them, but I'd be looking at Ten Hag.
That's why you would say that Zidane is the top option, because he is the best suited to come in right now. Ten Hag ain't going to be able to turn this team around to make something of this season, and it depends where you're thinking, doesn't it? If you want to make something of this season, I do believe that it has to be Zidane. I'm sort of on that same boat there where I'm thinking he's probably giving it a wide berth, to be honest, because the club's in a mess. But, I mean, I'm looking at, you've got to turn it around very, very quickly. And the way the fan base is right now, the pressure is on. I know you could say it can only get better.
You can't have another rebuild, Adam. Ronaldo's only here for you can't have another rebuild, really, because Ronaldo's only here for 18 months.
Yeah.
You see, we're about to lose this sort of generation of player. We're about to lose the Pogbas, the Garanis, the Ronaldos, the Matiches. It's about to move on to a different place. So do you accept that this season has to be
That's why you can't write off 7 months. You can't write it off.
That's the difficult thing. You cannot accept that as Manchester United. And I don't know if I can wait another 7 months of this.
They write this season off. They're writing next season off because a manager won't have time to turn it around.
Ricky,
go on.
He said, yeah, if you do write it off, then Ronaldo's gone in the summer. Cavani's gone.
Ricky, looking at the season, I know you probably kept an eye on Spurs today because Dan James played and scored. They've now gone past us. They've got, and I think Spurs' next 3 games are like Norwich and Newcastle and Burnley, so they could take 9 points from 9. Our next 3 are Chelsea, Arsenal, and Palace. I don't fancy us taking 9. Newcastle have got Arsenal at the weekend. That'll be 3 points for them. If they win that and they beat us, they'd be 9 points ahead of us. So this can get a lot worse, a lot quicker. It feels to me like normally you sack a manager like Villa, Gerrard comes in, you get your bounce, we're going somewhere. I don't think that Solskjaer going is the end of our problems. I think there's potential for this to get a lot worse. What are you thinking about this season now in relation to this team and, 7 months left in the season, regardless of whether we get an interim or a new manager in? Got some tough fixtures to come, and teams around us are starting to pick up points, and not the teams at the top. Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City are probably gone now, but Spurs, Wolves, Arsenal, West Ham.
Well, it depends. I mean, you just said regardless if we were getting into them, I don't think you can really say that, Mark, because if we're getting into, a new manager, at the minute we haven't got a new manager, and it's going to be all, everything that Carrick's had to say. Sometimes, I think I said this to you last week, sometimes, even if you've done well for a few years with a manager, it can get a bit stale. Even if you've got a good manager, sometimes it's the right time to have a change, and it gets a bit stale. So Carrick's not new. Everything that he's going to talk about in the dressing room on Tuesday night, they've heard it all 100 times before. I don't think there's going to be a new manager bounce. Look, I've just said it just may be that he rates 2 or 3 players that Solskjaer didn't rate. I find that hard to believe, though, because he must have had some input. So I don't know what he's going to pick. If he was to pick the team right, I believe we could go there and win. But getting back to the league form, we've got rid of Solskjaer. If we still had Solskjaer, or if Carrick keeps picking the team that Solskjaer was picking, we'll finish about 10th.
Yeah, I think as I say, Spurs could easily get 9 points from their next 3. Arsenal are definitely going to beat Newcastle, and they've got some winnable games as well. It's very hard. It's very difficult to sort of predict where we're going to go from here, Beth. But I suppose the question is, do you think things are going to start to get better, or do you think there's actually still some legs in it getting worse?
If Carrick and Fletcher stay in charge, then worse. Literally, like Ricky just said, these guys. Not Fletcher, but Carrick has been in the heart and soul of this coaching staff now for a long time. There's no new manager bounce. It's going to be the same thing as Rick just said, and I just think if he's in charge again, it can't be that much different. I think he's got to play Donny van der Beek off merit after everything that's happened, but that can't change everything round. And I think he's playing a similar way because that's all he knows, because that's what they've been doing for months on end. I think he's not going to come up with a magical plan now just because all he's got sat that's going to change it all around. They need a fresh new manager with new ideas to come in, take charge of the squad, teach them the basics, get a style of play, work on set pieces, and get the mentality and get the positivity back into that team and make them believe again, because a lot of players will be so downhearted in the fact that they've had this many poor performances on the bounce, and they need someone to put the belief back into them. David Hay came out and said they don't know what to do with the ball. They need someone to come in and teach them and give them beliefs in what they're doing on the pitch. With Carrick there, it's not going to happen because it's going to be the same thing that's been happening all these times. We've been getting bad results and we've not been able to turn it around. So if that happens, I think it'll definitely go downhill, because I think players will still want to leave in January. God forbid if he stays interim for that long. And I think players won't know what direction the club's going in. And whereas if a new manager comes in with fresh ideas and they've got a long-term plan and they can kind of give that to the players, I think it'll get the players on board. I think it'll kind of stop the unrest within the squad, and we might go out there and start winning games and turn it around. But while it's the same people in the backroom staff, the same coaches, nothing's going to change. And that's why it's annoyed me so much, because Solskjaer has literally taken all of the blame by getting sacked. They've only sacked him to say that they've done something about it after that Paul Watford defeat. They've got no one to come in, so they've handed it over to the people that are helping him. And I just think I think the way they've gone about it is so wrong.
I think you're spot on, Beth, and I also think Ricky's made a very, very good point, which you've backed up as well, is that we talk about new manager bounce. How can you get a new manager bounce, Kev, when it's not a new manager? It's, the players go back in tomorrow and it's like going to work when one of your mates has had the day off sick. It's like, oh, Ollie's not here, but everyone else is. It's like it's not new. It's not new. What's Carrick going to do? I played Football Manager. I can't do his accent. I played Football Manager last night. There's something called a regista. We're going to try it against Villarreal. It's like all he can do is read a different tactics book. It's not.
This game on Tuesday, Villarreal. None of you are going to like this. I know this. It's absolutely vital that we don't lose. It isn't vital that we win. If we get a point there, we will get. I'll be gobsmacked if we don't beat Young Boys at Old Trafford. The way we've been going, though, you never know. But if we get a point, we're almost nailed on to get through. So we don't have to win. He's got to go there and just be a little bit cagey. Now, we're all banging on. Beth's just said it, and I agree with her. We're all banging on Van der Beek's got to play. He has got to play. But so have, and I'm going back over old ground, 2 of the midfield players have got to be more defensive. Whether it's McTominay, Fred or Matic, whichever 2 have got to play. Van der Beek has got to play in Bruno's position. That's got to happen. If he doesn't do that and he puts Van der Beek, he's another attacking player. We don't have to win, and we probably will win if he sets up a bit more defensively with Van der Beek in front of those 2. That's what he has to do. And please God, he can see that. Please God, he can see that. Van der Beek, if you put him in place of like McTominay, Fred and Matic, whichever two you pick, I'd go with McTominay and Matic, whichever two you pick, and Van der Beek just in front. And you can't, if you put him in for one of your two defensive midfield, we might go and beat him, of course we might, but you're leaving yourselves open a little bit. That's the way I see it.
You could say, like you said, Ricky, when Van der Beek came on in that position, we played the best 25 minutes of football that we played for the last 2 months, mate. So, you know what I mean? Yeah. Van der Beek in that defensive midfield position works because when you pass him the ball, he can do something with it and he doesn't panic on the ball like a Fred and McTominay would. And like De Gea said,
for Chelsea, doesn't
it? De Gea said it, didn't he? He said, we don't know what to do with the ball. Van der Beek knows what to do with the ball because that's how he was coached at Ajax. He pride themselves on taking the ball and running through the lines of it.
All I'm saying is without any shadow of a doubt, we've got more chance of getting the result that we need if we've got two holding midfield players and one attacking midfield player. Not 2-1.
Two holding midfield players that are going to sit in front of the back four and keep giving balls away because he can't pass it out from the back.
It's whether you trust Van der Beek in the double pivot. I personally think he can play there. Sounds like Ricky doesn't think he can. I think that's always been a divider.
I do think he can, but he's more attack-minded. I mean, look where he appeared to score a goal 6 yards out.
Yeah. I tell you what, he's got to have that discipline. You've got to have that discipline away.
You get the result that Ricky wants if you play Matic and Donny Van der Beek in there.
Yeah,
simple.
Anyway, go back to you, Kev. I was going to say, I can't remember what I was going to say, actually. It was something along the lines of, we're not going to get this new bounce. Ricky makes a good point because it's the same set of players. What do you feel about, and Beth, quite rightly, I think, saying, look, we need a new manager in straight away because they will bring new ideas that the interims are not going to bring. If they do persist with this current regime, where do you think? Well, it's not even about that. Where do you think this season is going to go? Because it's as I said, a new manager normally, a sacking of a manager normally is a reset. This might not be a reset.
It needs at this minute. The reason I always stuck by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the fact that I couldn't bear pressing the reset button and having to potentially go through another 1 or 2 years of a rebuild. I feel like we've done that, and I felt like we've been through the worst of it, and we were sort of out the woods, and all of a sudden we've gone back into it. It's like we've gone back a couple of years again after being so, at the start of this season, the signing of Ronaldo, and I think of Old Trafford, the Newcastle match, it was absolutely bouncing, the atmosphere, just the feel-good factor at Manchester United, and how quickly it's just turned. Now, in terms of the reset, it needs absolutely ripping up because, like you say, they've taken Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out, but in theory, all the same coaches are there. So the players tomorrow will still be going in. And like you say, McKenna, Carrick, they're all still there, feeling and that. It's only Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that's not there. So somebody else is going to be making the decision on the team, and that Carrick will talk to them. But nothing's really changed. And I think it's a culture thing at Manchester United now. The next manager that comes in needs to come in with their team. I'm bringing my team in. This is a fresh approach and everything. And that's probably the turning point for the players then, when they go, right, this is new management, a new team. And that's where you get that bounce from. Like you say about Steven Gerrard yesterday walking in at Aston Villa. First game, you do get that, and players will step up. There'll be fringe players that will want to impress the new manager. I can play my way into this team, and that's where you get it from. And it will happen, but it really is a massive appointment. This next one, I just think back to the days of Moyes. I never totally agreed with that appointment. I just thought, really, really underwhelming, but you go along with it, don't you, supporters? I've had loads of shit on Twitter, people, especially coming out the woodwork now.
Really?
You said Ole Gunnar Solskjaer this, you said, and I'm like, all right, mate, what do you want me to do? He's a manager of Manchester United. He was on a really good run when he got the job. Granted, he wasn't qualified for it. He'd not. I know he won a championship or whatever in Norwegian football or whatever. But Sir Alex Ferguson told us, even when David Moyes took over, your job now is to get back behind this manager. And I've done it with every single manager. That's all you can do as a fan. Call me a top red, call me whatever you want. I'm not really asked. My thing as a fan is to get behind the manager. And it's been very difficult with this manager because he's a legend of Manchester United. And that is not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's fault. It's the Glazers and the board that appointed him, because they were very cute, very slimy the way they did this, because they put it on us, and we have been through an emotional roller coaster as Manchester United fans. And that's the reason today I'm not selling. When Mourinho left United, I was glad. And as I said it earlier, with Solskjaer today, I don't even think it's really hit home that he's left, because it's just, it's sad. It's just sad more than anything, isn't it? And you look at him and you think he shouldn't have been put in that position. But at the same time, he took his opportunity. He was offered the job. He took it. He did it. He took us as far as he could take it. And now somebody else needs to, take it further.
It's always sorry, Beth. It's always about opinion. Sorry, you go first. Sorry, carry on.
I was just going to say, to reiterate, I mean, we've moved past this now, but I do think he's left the club in a good way for someone else to come in and really turn it round. I really do. And that's why, he's left it different to Mourinho. A manager couldn't come in with the squad that Mourinho left and go on and win things and turn it fully around. It needed major revamping. The atmosphere needed completely changing. Now, if a manager comes in, there's a squad there you can build with. There's a better atmosphere there. We know that. And that's why I think he's left it in a better position. It is sad. It needed to happen, but it is sad. And that's why we need to get that new manager in now to kind of take this squad to the next level and rebuild what Ollie was kind of trying to do before this massive run of horrendous form kind of started.
A couple of things before I go to Adam. First of all, from the Times, they're saying that Laurent Blanc is being considered to take over until the end of the season, with Ralph Rangnick also under consideration, with then Pochettino or Ten Hag coming in the summer. I've got no problem with any of them names. I just don't like that process. I do not like an interim. You're right, in the season off. What does an interim come and do for 7 months? They can't. You can't really buy anybody because it's a mess. You need the reset now. But I also think a couple of things what Kev said before I go to Adam, and what I wanted to ask you, Adam, just to get ready is, do you think we might be on a fast track to Europa League? Because, things are not that great at the moment. It's not like we're in a position of strength. But before I say that, first thing I want to say about what Kev said, look, it's always about opinion. Anyone can react how they like. But I was sent stuff today from people who, when Ollie was sacked last night, they were celebrating it as United fans. That is their right. But when you do something like that, as we all know, expect to get a bit of kickback and don't moan when you do. That's how I live my life. If I tweet something and I know it's going to be divisive, I ain't going to moan when someone starts giving me some shit. So if you want to start celebrating Ollie getting the sack, fine, but expect to get a bit of kickback. Don't moan when you do. The other thing I was going to say, and I think a great point from Kev, is how difficult it will be for the players to go in tomorrow. I'd not even thought about this, and Kev made me think about it. The players go in tomorrow morning. What's different? The only thing that's different is Ollie isn't there. It's still the same people putting the cones out. It's still the same people who weren't picking you last week. It's still the same people. I think we as fans don't actually feel like it's a massive reset. I don't think the players are going to feel like it. I think, Ronaldo's all right. I'm playing. I'm number 7. And Maguire's like, well, I'm not playing on Sunday because I'm suspended, but I'll be playing against Villarreal. And also, I imagine the players are like us. I think they're probably quite fatigued, Adam. I don't think they've got that bounce that Villa players have got. I think they're like, Ollie's gone, but what? They're probably more confused than ever, really. It might be quite a difficult couple of games for United players. And if they are, we could be drifting further and further away from that top 4.
Yeah, they've underperformed under the same people. So it's like you said, the only thing that's going to change is maybe Mike Phelan will be the one rolling the ball out to him in the warm-up before the game starts. Because that was Carrick's job on the 18-yard box. That's all he did that I seen. And we're about to find out if that is all that he did, because of, like we said, the intrigue of what's going to happen on Tuesday night. Absolutely right, mate. It's not changed. Everyone's in agreement. Nothing has changed. And the sooner the decision is made, the better. But the players' reaction to it is probably one of, what do we do? Are we playing now because we know a new manager is going to be coming in. Do I have to go that extra yard? Do I have to do a bit more because someone new is definitely coming in here? Because they know themselves that Carrick is not going to be the man. So maybe we see a few more individual battles won. One thing that we haven't been doing. Maybe we see some better performances from players because they're playing to put themselves in there. I guarantee you the players that will, if they do get a chance, that is, the players that will be doing a lot more, the ones that have been left in the dark, they'll be the ones now going, right, this is my opportunity now. This is my career on the line, which it is with a lot of them. They're either moving in January or the summer, or they're playing for Man United. And you could name about 6 or 7 players in our team at the moment that come under that category. It's going to be really interesting to see when Greenwood recovers from COVID, if he comes back in and Sancho gets dropped again. It's all these little things. Do you know what I mean? It's like Martial wouldn't have played yesterday if Cavani and Greenwood were on the bench. We know that for definite. So it's like, does Martial get a chance back on the left-hand side again? Does Greenwood come straight back in? The players looking at it, they're all going, honestly, like us, mate, we're scratching our heads. Could not tell you. That's the honest answer because, like we've all agreed, nothing has changed at all. And how they approach it, it's down to them. It's their own individual sort of look on it now for me. It's like, where are they personally as a footballer for Manchester United right now? I don't think the coaching is going to change or anything's going to change that side of it. It's all on the players now. They're going to literally be playing for their careers at United, or we'll find out if certain players have already got the moves that they want, because I said nothing's going to come from the training ground. It's still the same. All he doesn't coach the team. All he does is give the interviews and talk to them in the changing room or give whatever. So all we're doing really is just taking one man out of the equation. We're just moving the middleman on, and that's it. So it's on the players, mate. Simple as, on the players.
Can I just ask you this, Adam? I spoke earlier when I said, I think we've all agreed that we haven't played very well. Even though we finished second last year, we nicked a load of games, didn't we? We came back from 2-0 down a couple of times. And, we were, I think you call us Moments FC, Mark, don't you? Because we rely on the odd brilliant. That's been going on for 18 months. And what I'm coming to here, I've just heard you say, Adam, then I've heard it said loads and loads of times that they're underperforming. How long do we have to underperform before we say that the players just aren't very good? I mean, have they been underperforming for 18 months?
This is it, mate. This is it. There's been games where individually players have been on point for themselves. It's if they're going to now commit to playing under a team, because we've not been playing as a team. And with the right coaching, which is why it's very key now that this decision is imperative to the future of nearly every single one of these United players in this team right now. Because half of them are half out the door. Has that changed now? Because, a new man's coming in and it could be one that they like. I do think we're going to find out about all these players that you think aren't good enough, Ricky, under this next stage now coming up. This next era for Manchester United is going to finish our argument that we've been having with each other. That's where I'm at. That's what I think is going to come from it. You'll see who is going to make it and who isn't, because a lot of these players only know Carrick, McKenna, Phelan and Ollie. That's all they know. So this now, I think, will be the answer.
So you two can have your debate and see who's right. Because at the moment, it's very hard to say, is Greenwood a good player? Is Rashford a good player? Is McTominay a good player?
We don't know anymore, do we? It's that flat.
Because they're all bad. Under a system that is bad.
We've seen moments, though, where they have played in these moments extremely well. And you think, God, if they were just coached properly around the basics and kind of did that more often through the patterns of play you can create by being coached properly, then you could. That's why I think there is potential there, because you'll see goals like Tottenham. That goal that I think it was the Ronaldo goal, them intricate passes. You think, oh my God, if only we did that more often. And I do think it is in there for a lot of the players. But as you guys said, you'll see what players aren't up for it when a new manager comes in, and you'll truly see who needs better coaching and who just isn't good enough. And
no players, for me, seem to have maybe Luke Shaw, but recently I think he's been absolutely terrible. That you would say that have improved under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and that's the difference for me. An elite top club manager, the likes of Guardiola and Klopp, the top of the tree. they improve players. You know, they can pluck players from anywhere. You see them, they sign players, bring them into their team, and they fit into the structure of their team because they have a way and a style of playing football. And it works from the bottom all the way up. They can pluck somebody out of their academy if somebody's injured, and they go straight in. And that same style of football is played all the way down from kids football, all the way through, you know, to the main team football. And again, I think it's totally lost at United. There is no identity. Whereas at Ajax, you look at Ten Hag, they have a style of football. And Donny van der Beek, what he brings to Manchester United, I know he's not had many chances, but maybe that's where he's been lost. You know, he comes into that team and we play absolutely nothing like what Ajax team would play. You know, short, quick passing football, move up the field. Yeah, exactly the same. So is that why certain players are struggling to come to Manchester United? How many times has this happened with players from Dortmund? You know, you look at Kagawa, Mkhitaryan, and now Jadon Sancho. There's 3 players from the same club that played fantastic football, yet moved to Manchester United, where you think next stepping stone, they should make the next level, and it just breaks down for some reason.
I thought Sancho was playing well yesterday. I was amazed he took him off. I know there was only a few minutes to go, but I was pinning my hopes on him getting another ball into the box for Ronaldo.
The thing is, as well, you know,
he was the man that could do something else by Van der Beek feeding him, and obviously Ronaldo in the box. I was gobsmacked he took him off.
I thought
he wasn't though, because it was Ole.
We're all emotional. We're all emotional because it's been a tiring, emotional day. But you know, again, Kev makes a good point because you know we're all getting emotional about Ollie's gone, this, that, and the other, and I get that. But you know, we went to Watford. Watford are going to get relegated, and they played us off the park. They should have been 6-0 up at half time. Ben Foster messaged me last night. I won't tell you what he said, but I said we could have lost 7-1, and he went, yeah, you know, he basically said I was shocked. But what I was going to say is that I watched a bit of Man City today, and they brought this young lad on called McT, and I was like, he could have been David Silva or Bernardo Silva. He looked like a Man City, he looked like Foden again. He looked like another Foden because they're all trained in the same way. They all do the same thing. Their body movements the same. Their passing movements the same. They're just coached well. Going back to what happened with Watford, we're no top 4 team goes to Vicarage Road and gets hammered like that. And we're an experiment of how many great players can we have and play shit. How do you put one of the world's best ever players in your team and make him look absolute shite? You know, that's the basic experiment that we've had. And apparently McTominay's put a post on Instagram about Ollie. I can't read it because he's blocked me. It's the only tackle he's made this weekend. But what these players need to do, you know, they take everything personal, they take everything personal. Like, just open your ears, do that, like Maguire, but listen instead of saying, I'm not, you know, listen. I believe Scott McTominay could be a good player. Like, I've spoken to people like Ben Foster when I did that thing with him. He keeps telling me when they played against Watford in January, all the outfield players said McTominay's a really good player. And I was like, I can't never see it. There's obviously a player there. Imagine how good he might be if he gets coached properly. And this is what I'm saying. This argument between Ricky and Adam about who's a good player or is a bad player, you can't have it because there's no definitive answer until they get coached properly. And this is why, if we get this new manager in, it's a clean slate for every player, whether it's Luke Shaw, Scott McTominay, Bruno, Greenwood. It's a clean slate because I don't believe any of them have developed over the last 3 years.
I do think he definitely brought Shaw on. I know he's gone backwards again, but the thing is, he brought. I
think it was just confidence with Shaw. I think with Shaw, it's a head thing, and I think Ollie can help mentally.
You know what? Luke Shaw was playing brilliantly before he broke his leg.
Yeah,
Luke Shaw, before he broke his leg, Luke Shaw was playing superb under Van Gaal. I knew Luke Shaw. I knew there was a player in Luke Shaw.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
As soon as he signed, I could tell. From Southampton, you could tell there was a player.
I think it's a mental thing with him. And Ollie has helped him with that, I think.
I do think that happened with Martial as well, obviously, in the 1920 season. Mentality. Now it's gone again since Cavani.
Look, you know, give Ollie his due. You're a big fan of his, Beth. And I think that I think Ollie, with certain players, probably has been a good manager. Donny would say different, but you know, maybe with Luke Shaw, he sat him down, arm round him, he's made him feel good, and then that ability that Adam talks out that was always there has been nurtured. Yeah, I'll give him that. But as he developed Greenwood from being a player that likes to shoot off both feet, or Rashford who likes to shoot off both feet, as he turned them into team players who will look up and put a cross in or play a 1-2. No, Pep would do that. Klopp would do that.
He said it himself. He doesn't coach the team. He's the manager of the team. And like he said in his interview, I create a good football environment. And that's what he did. But unfortunately, Manchester United, if you're going to go for the top trophies, I mean, God, we wouldn't be going for that now. Look how far down we are in the league and how awful the performances have gone. You need to be an elite manager. He's nowhere near an elite manager. And he knows that. I think he knows that himself as well. Like tactically, and when it comes down to the coaching aspect, he's nowhere near that. But I do think he created, I think he came in and did what he needed to do, but he couldn't get to the next level, and he should have been gone ages ago. But it is what it is.
He probably created a nice environment where the coaching wasn't good enough. So what did United do? They sacked the guy who was nice and kept the coaching that's not good enough. Good night, everyone. Let's see what happens.
That's what they've done. And that's just facts.
That's what they've done. I think we have probably reached the end of the show. I think we've covered absolutely everything, unless anyone else wants to bring anything in.
Yeah.
Predictions for Villarreal, everyone.
I know you'll be talking about this later in the week, but obviously they've got to start thinking ahead. Whoever it is, I assume Carrick will be there for at least 2 games. We've got Noel Maguire against Chelsea. He might already, or he might have previously been thinking about playing 3 centre-backs there. We're going to be right under the cosh. I wouldn't be surprised, because I've seen him do it for Scotland. I won't be surprised to see Matt Tominey playing at centre-half at Stamford Bridge. I won't surprise me one bit.
He'd get...
Just saying.
Eric Bailly normally does quite well against Chelsea, to be fair.
Yeah, Carrick, he's limited to what options he's got there right now. I mean,
can't bring Varane back.
Varane is training, so he could get lucky there, because I do think probably right now Varane and Lindelof is probably the best partnership. I could probably see. I think Varane will be back in time, so I think we will get away with it. Just Ricky on that one. I think Maguire being missing might actually be a bit of a godsend, because a lot of chances
Chelsea
that
trying
Watford
to appeal
create. Yeah,
I was just going to say that
3 times now.
I think
a lot of
he
chances that
liked
Watford
it.
created were on turnover ball, wasn't it? It was turnover from our mistakes, and he's not going to get as much of that with Maguire out of the team right now. I still think there's a player in Maguire, but he's just in the worst time of his career, I think, right now. And
he needs time off to reach that.
Yeah, break probably will do. One man good, it would be Maguire.
The funny thing about the Maguire sending off is that because people could watch that game, and I had the live chat on, and you're listening in, and people start going red card because they're slightly ahead, and I'm listening in, and I think Wan-Bissaka had it, and I'm like, it can't be a red card. How does it go to a red card from Wan-Bissaka having it? And it goes like Wan-Bissaka to Harry Maguire. I'm like, it can't be a red card. Miscontrols it. He's through it. Red card. That was it. Just like,
how many times has he done that this season as well? How many times has he miscontrolled the ball and then lunged into a challenge?
It goes down to that. I'll always say in the press conference, we need to start games quick off. Maguire and Shaw have been the biggest culprits for that all season, starting games really slow, especially away from home. And again, it just comes out. Nothing changes. It's like he says all these things, and then he went to the pitch, and they capitulate every single time. There is a mental block in that United shirt. Some players, I think, just need taking out the team and giving a break.
Yeah,
I do. I think they've lost the way. I think this is the perfect opportunity.
Adam. It's like I said this. I said this after the game yesterday. I said I would have dropped Maguire for the Watford game, but I would have picked him against Villarreal. That's how I would coach. I would be like, I'd just give him a boot up the arse. Just let him know that I will drop you. Now play against Villarreal. See if you bounce back. If you don't, drop him again.
This is the thing with centre-backs. I can't have this whole left-sided, right-sided centre-back crap, me. I'm not for it. If you're a centre-back, you're a centre-back. And if you're a Premier League footballer, you should be able to play with both feet. I'm not having this garbage of left-sided centre-backs. Yesterday, Josh King just went and planted himself onto Victor Lindelof. If I'm the captain and I'm the leading centre-back, I'd be pulling rank and saying, switch it now, because one thing Maguire is good at is in the air. And Josh King absolutely annihilated us yesterday. Every single ball he won. He had time to bring it down. He had time to control it. It was embarrassing that 2 United rejects tore us apart yesterday in Cleverley and Josh King, because Cleverley ran the midfield and Josh King made our centre-backs look championship standard. But all Maguire had to do was jump on to Josh King and move Lindelof across, but he didn't make the call. And that, for me, is a man who is not confident in his own game to even handle that. And that's why, as a good manager, someone who sees things happening on the pitch, you take that out of the equation. You don't bring him in, because I tell you what, if Eric Bailly was on Josh King yesterday, they ain't getting half the look, because he would have been up for the battle. I just don't think our centre-backs were up for that championship standard battle, which is all it was. Sarr just picked up pieces off King and ran at our defence if King wasn't able to take the ball down and challenge. He was ridiculous. I mean, at one point, Josh King was out sprinting Lindelof down the wing. I was just like...
Lindelof looked scared to me. He looked scared of doing anything.
So, yeah, this is it. It's it. If you haven't got the confidence to wear the shirt and play for United and take responsibility, then you need taking out, and you need a word with her, because that is the ultimate issue what we've got right now. Solskjaer just keeps playing him, and yeah, they let him down, but ultimately you've got to be able to see that as the coach and the manager, that this player is not having a good time, and he needs taken out of the limelight. He needs taken away, and Ferguson did that brilliantly with every player. He knew when the time was right to drop a player and bring him out, but Solskjaer hasn't learned that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everyone. Well, thanks everyone for popping on. Ricky, thanks for popping on.
No problem. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Beth.
Yeah, enjoyed it. Great Sunday night show, and we move on to the press conference tomorrow. It'll be an interesting one.
Michael Carrick press conference. Oh, I actually will watch that one, because out of the novelty value, might be the only one, hopefully. Kev.
Thank you very much. Emotional wheel. Carrick's at the wheel.
You've gone for the Carrick look with the headphones anyway. That's what he does on the touchline.
Just need my iPad now.
What's he listening to? Who he does? I don't know. Adam, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's hard for any manager to control a game while they're playing Angry Birds, isn't it? So, cheers as always.
Yeah, and unfortunately, all I can say is that it's not the end, folks. I think, whatever happens, we've got a few twists and turns to come. I just hope that the club is working fast, because those players are going in tomorrow, and I don't think they're going into anything new. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video, and we'll see you in the morning and see what's going to happen next.